Hey, Dr. She Rich here. The episode you're about to watch is actually episode 6, Surviving with She Rich, and it's called Loren's Story Break Every Chain. And so, my guest who I have coming on is actually a licensed clinical social worker, which I thought was very fitting because April is National Council Month. And so, as you watch, I hope that you are inspired and encouraged, like I was, at her story of parenting and how to navigate difficult situations and challenging circumstances that our children go through. So, if this is a blessing to you, I ask that you share it with someone who could also benefit from it as well. And of course, I would love for you to click that like and subscribe button. But for me, it's more about getting the information out there so that others can be blessed and encouraged. So thank you for tuning in. I hope that this episode is a blessing to you, like it was a blessing to me. Welcome to Surviving with She Rich, the podcast where we help those silenced by trauma regain their voice. I'm your host, Dr. Sherry Richardson. Join my guests and me as we share inspiring stories of resilience and practical steps toward healing within a supportive community. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get started on this empowering journey from trauma to triumph, surviving to thriving, one story at a time. Welcome to Surviving with She Rich. This is the podcast where we help those who have been silenced by trauma actually regain their voices. I am your host, and I have the pleasure of facilitating this podcast. I'm Dr. Sherry Richardson. Some know me as Dr. She Rich. And again, it's just an honor to be back here. I feel like I've been away for a minute, but it's good to jump back in. And the guest I have with me today is she's so dear to my heart. I thought it was so fitting to bring her on because April is National Counselors Month. And so she is actually a licensed clinical social worker who helps children and families and grown folk like myself get through some things. So it is such an honor. I want y'all to welcome my guest, my love. I call her Sunshine, y'all. This is Loren Johnson Rosa. Welcome, Loren.
Thank you, Sherry, for having me. I'm super
Absolutely.
excited. This is a
Good. And
blessing.
I'm so, listen, I don't know if you're more excited than I am. I know I'm extremely excited.
Okay.
Just recently moving from Jersey down to Georgia, I'm like, oh, I miss my people. And so now when I get to see you, I'm like, oh, I'm with my people. So I'm so excited to have you on today. For those of you who might be meeting us for the first time, Loren and I have known each other. I'm not going to say how many years because it's not even years, it's probably decades by this point.
Yes, two, I
Because my
think.
baby girl is 20. So, and I knew you before then.
Yes.
So it's been decades that we've been knowing and loving each other. We have a sisterhood that I appreciate so much. And so, we go back, we initially met through church. That's how God brought us together. But it has transformed into a friendship and a sisterhood that I am just happy that I've had the opportunity to have. So it's so good to have you. I'm giving you an air hug right now, Loren, because
Thank you.
we're on the screen. But as our viewers are looking and listening, tell them a little bit about who you are so they know who's sitting before them today.
Well, so first, let me just say thank you to God, be the glory, because
So good.
He puts you in a place that is phenomenal and it's going to excel beyond your eyeballs.
Thank
The other
you.
thing is that I am Loren Johnson Rosa. And I grew up in a small town called Princeton, New Jersey,
Mhm.
which exposed me to a lot of things that I really wasn't prepared to handle.
Mm,
But as life grew, my mother always told me I have to be 110. So if everybody else was 100%, I had to be 110% to be able to be seen and viewed. So I raised my children in that same kind of thing, where it's not just mediocrity, it is above and beyond.
I love that.
So I've always helped them see that the sky is not the limit.
Right.
It's your imagination, where as far as you can imagine, as far as you can go.
I
But
love
as
that.
I grow, it's when I was growing up, it wasn't like that.
Hmm.
My experience with my teachers and with people in my environment said, oh no, you have to learn stenography, you have to learn typing because you're either going to work at the hospital or the
Hmm.
university. And I have had the pleasure to work at both of those spots, but not in any of those capacities. And so I always laugh because I desperately want to see my fourth and fifth grade teachers again to let them know that what you thought
Ooh.
was being suppressed
Mm.
blew up
My goodness.
way fast,
Oh
way
my
more than
goodness.
I could even imagine. But it took a minute.
Yeah.
It took a minute
And we
because,
can go, oh my goodness, we can go just that little nugget, that little intro. Oh my goodness, we can go so many places with that. So many. I
Mhm.
mean, you know, me as an educator in
Yes,
K-12 education, I understand the power that and the influence and impact that educators have on young people.
yes,
And so, even biblically, knowing that our words can either give life or they can produce death. And
yes.
so to hear, unfortunately, your I don't, you know what? Do I want to go here? I
I
think
was defiant.
I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go here just for a second because
Okay.
you said Princeton. And for
Yes.
people who may be watching nationally who might not know where Princeton is,
Mm,
Princeton originally did not have a lot of folk that look like us
none. Or if
at
they
all.
did,
Uh,
they were
um,
only in subservient capacity.
you're right. If they did, they were cleaning houses or they were taking
Cooking
care of
meals.
children and so unfortunately, growing up in that, you had to experience that. And the sad part about it, Loren, and I can only speculate at this point, I am sure you as a Black female, that was probably common conversation with people who look like you.
Yes.
And so I applaud you and I thank God and your mom. Your mom was wise. I don't know her. You know,
Yeah,
I didn't know her, but the wisdom that she imparted in you, you know, Loren, you have to be above, you know, that's that excellence. You embraced that later on in your life. And I'm so glad because it allowed you to go far beyond what people expected of you.
man.
And so I thank you and I applaud you for that. And I'm going to say this to my audience. If you are an educator of children in any way, if you are a provider for children in any way, shape, or form, please understand that your words have power.
Hmm.
Please understand the lasting impact that you are having on our children, the seeds that you are planting, the seeds that you are watering that grow into these trees. Please
Yeah,
be mindful of that because
yeah,
we want healthy children. We want them prosperous and we want them growing. And so, Loren, that's why it is so important to have Black female professionals in the field that you're in. It's so important.
absolutely. It is
So
extremely.
I thank you. Tell us a little bit about that because it is National Counselors Month. And so counselors, therapists, social workers, you know, you have different titles and are able to do different things. However,
Yes.
they overlap in a lot of ways. So talk to me about you. How did you even get to the point where you became a counselor? And, you know, people kind of think counselors, you know, social workers, they have it all together. Was that your story?
Liar, liar, pants on fire. So let me go back. So I went to college to get out of my mom's house because I
Motivation?
wanted to I wanted to explore because streetlights came on and Lauren was in the house. And being the baby of the family, I had four mothers, three sisters, and an actual mother.
Oh,
And
yes.
so everybody was always telling me what to do, what you can do, what you can't.
Right,
And
right, right.
so I, I wanted to show them that just because you tell me I can't, let me show you that I can. But I didn't do it in a way that made me think that I was doing it in the right way. I was doing it in defiance.
Mm.
But that helped me to see later on, as now I'm a therapist, how to articulate what you need children to do using certain verbiage. So you need to be mindful, like you said, Sherry, that how you talk to them makes a difference. But I became a therapist because I have this wonderful, handsome son, bless his heart, who um, took me to a place that I really didn't understand. Which,
Okay.
when I say that, when I moved out of my mom's house, I went to college for a year, hooked back up with my childhood sweetheart, who is Talisha and Timothy's dad.
Hmm.
God rest his soul, he's deceased now. But um, in that process, we learned how to live life differently than when we were living in Princeton. So we moved to New
Hmm.
Brunswick.
Hmm.
So in New Brunswick, it's a little bit different
Right.
in terms of people that look like us.
Right.
So whereas um, I spoke what people would say, you talk like a white girl. What does that mean?
Right.
Like, I couldn't
Mm.
quite understand
Yes,
because I
Loren.
thought that everybody talked the same way.
Grammatically correctly.
Yes, yes. And I had to learn back then, I think they called it Ebonics.
Yes.
I had to learn how to talk
Mm.
because people would always call me, you acting like a white girl. So
Right.
I went all the way left and started doing all these different things. But long story short, I had two children, still going to school, but it got to be too much
Mm.
for me and trying to raise the children the right way because their dad had had exposure to street life and I had
Okay.
not. So
Mm.
I moved my children back to Princeton so that they could have a foundation with their education.
Right.
But in that process, my daughter got to the point where she would say, I'm not black, I am multicultural, which, uh, okay, but she's fair complexion. Her hair is long, and,
Mhm.
I thought she was getting a little crazed with that. So I moved to Trenton so
Oh,
that we could kind of knock that out the I know. So when we moved to Trenton, Timmy found a niche differently because he was very quiet.
okay.
Talisha is outspoken,
Mm.
and it's still like that. She's more like me. He's more like his father's good side.
Okay.
And in that process, I told him, you can't have people beating you up. You need to go and act like you're a man. So he's in fourth
Mm.
grade, and he came and said, "Hello, how is everybody today?" And somebody started teasing him
Mm.
because of his vernacular, right?
Right.
So then one thing led to another. He got into a fight. He beat this kid up, which was the bully of school,
Oh,
which
wow.
now in turn made Timmy this, strong dude that people started
Exactly.
respecting.
Mm-hmm.
He went from fourth grade being respected, got too much for me in Trenton. I moved to Ewing. I'm thinking, okay, it's made it, the mediocre,
Right.
right? From there, um, Timmy has lots of talents.
Mhm.
One of them being very charismatic.
Okay.
He could talk you into
Ah.
something that you wouldn't even realize that you have given him everything and you looking for, where's my stuff? Because he's kind-hearted and sweet and very, very smart.
Mm.
So when
He
he was
used
in
that to his
school,
advantage. I take that.
yes, when he
Okay.
was in school, he would skip class, come to class on Fridays when they had tests on Fridays, get an A, and then go back to hanging out in the gym. Now, granted, people say we all look alike, but I don't know what lens we
A
don't
lens
look
of
like.
ignorance. A lens
Yes,
of ignorance.
lens of ignorance.
We'll make it clear. Uh-huh.
Right. So the teacher would get upset and said she was going to fail him. I said, you can't fail my son because if you're failing to make sure he's in the classroom
Mhm.
because you know he's not there and you haven't ever called me.
Oh, wow.
So we kept going through that.
Mhm.
Then Timmy took his GED in the 10th grade and decided that at that time I was working at Johnson and Johnson, and it was a great job. Customer service, I like helping people. That's what
You
I do.
do. Yes, you do.
Wonderful. It was great. Everything was wonderful. I was living my life, right? All of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, I get laid off.
Oh no.
But it was so with a severance. I don't understand it,
Wow. Right.
but I said, okay. Timmy now, he is going to Mercer County, hanging out with older people.
Mm.
He gets his first ticket, I remember distinctly. He was downtown with a boom box that didn't belong to him and had the music, and he got a ticket. And this gentleman who he was with said it was his, and so he got this ticket. So when we went to court, I'm looking at the judge saying, he first of all, he doesn't have a boom box. I can't afford a boom box. How is this working? He said, your son said it was his, and so it's his. That was my intro to um,
Mm.
court system with juveniles.
And advocacy, I'm sure.
Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
so through that process, when I got laid off, my niece was going to school at Mercer County, and I read in the manual, people who are collecting unemployment can go to school for free. Dun, da, da, da. So
Beautiful.
I'm thinking to myself, okay, I love working with people,
Mhm.
but now I have the opportunity to work with computers because back then computers were the rising thing.
They
And
were.
I was used to making money. So I'm thinking, okay, I got an opportunity to make, money with this box.
Right.
Found out that me and a box don't get along. We're not perfect together because I
Because
need to.
you are a people person.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
really are. You are social and, be connecting. And so I can understand why that was not feasible for you and not satisfying because that's
No.
your personality is so
Yeah.
beyond that.
Talking to a box didn't work. So
It didn't.
anyway, after that, I decided, well, since I'm having these struggles with how to be a parent, because I like to read books
Hmm.
and learn things. So I bought these books on how to raise, black children and how to raise children in this time and age. And I was reading the books
Hmm.
and I was trying these things out on Timmy, and he was like, laughing in my face.
Oh,
So,
oh, he was beyond that, huh?
oh,
He,
yeah,
he knew the
yeah.
strategy. He saw what you were trying to do.
Yes, yes. And so because I didn't really quite understand, first of all, how to be a parent, now I'm trying to figure out, okay, he's 15. Maybe I should send him to go. His father was living in Florida. I don't feel that I can raise a young man. I don't have any brothers.
Hmm.
So let me send him to his father in Florida. I send him to Florida. He comes back as a person who delivers substances. Let me say it like that.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
okay. And
Yes.
and he
He's
was
in, was
there.
he in pharmaceuticals?
Pharmaceuticals, very good at
Okay.
it, extremely good at it, you know.
Great.
And one time, because I also was a pharmaceutical connoisseur at one point.
Oh, okay. So the apple didn't fall far from the tree in
Yes,
that.
yes.
Okay, got
So
you.
he comes down the stairs and he has this little doobie doo behind his ear, and I guess he forgot that it was there, and it falls on the floor. Now I'm like,
Mm,
what you think you're doing here up in my house?
right.
Yes.
That part.
Yes. So he says, oh, it's probably yours anyway. Ba bam. Now,
Okay, I need to stop you right there for just a second. I want to park there for just that. We know as parents,
yes.
our children don't belong to us. We're stewards
Yes.
over them. They belong to God. And so many times, and I'm going back to the question of you as a therapist, as a counselor, as a social worker,
Mm-hmm.
people really think you have it all together. At that particular moment, because that was literally a slam on the ground, slap in the face kind of moment. Was that enough? Was that a gut punch enough for you to say, you know what, I really need to really look at my life and shift? Or did you
Oh no.
continue down a different track?
Oh no. I thought something was wrong with him. Nothing was wrong with me
Wow.
because I had felt that corporal punishment was the way to go. And so even though I stopped when I was watching Roots and they kept beating the baby, saying, say your name, he kept saying Kunta Kinte.
Mm-hmm.
And then he finally broke down and said Toby. That was the changing. I think they were 10 and 11 when I stopped actually using a belt.
Mm-hmm.
But I still felt that physical therapy, or not physical therapy, physical punching him in his chest was going to
Right.
make him understand that I run stuff.
Mhm.
At that point, he had developed himself to a point where he had a few things, but I kicked him out because I said, you cannot live in my house doing things like this. Now, did I think that that was right? Oh, absolutely. Because if you don't live, it's my way or the highway, because that was
Mhm.
my mom.
Right.
And to this day, I make sure when I'm speaking with clients, please don't say that it's only one way to do something
Right.
because there is more than one way to skin a cat. And
Yeah. And
we
I
don't
think
know that.
the other thing I think it's important to understand when we, as parents, even of small children, we really cannot control anybody's behaviors.
Mm-mm.
We can influence, which can help them make decisions that are beneficial. But we really, even as children, think about potty training. You can't make a kid use the potty.
No.
You can coerce or bribe or praise or whatever tactic you decide to use. It's all about influence. We
Yes.
can never control another human being's behavior.
No.
And I
Not.
think as parents, it's important for us to realize and recognize that's why God as the center is so important. I literally have said, God, I don't know how to parent my daughters. So I need you. I need strategies because every single, mind you, they all have the same parents,
Yes.
but they're so different.
Yes.
And so what worked for one, like what impacted them or pulled on their heartstring to guide them to do the things that were beneficial didn't work for
The
all of
other
them.
ones. Right.
And
No,
so, it is as parents, we need to understand it's all about influence. It's about influence. Well, and mind you, yeah, sometimes that belt can influence, but long term, is it
it
really?
doesn't work.
It
It's
doesn't.
not good.
And mind, and it's, I think what is so common, especially in the Black and African American culture,
Mhm.
that was the upbringing.
Yes. From
Parents
years.
didn't talk about things. And so we didn't use our words back
Mm-mm.
then. I got a word for you in the form of a belt or a shoe or,
Yes. Or the
but
back of my hand.
anything. And so it's important to realize and recognize that, again, we are stewarding what does not belong to us,
Right.
belongs to God. So therefore, we have to seek his face to help us get to that place. And so, Loren, I want to ask you this question. I know in education, it was a thin, very, very, very thin line in our ability to be able to talk about God and to talk about a relationship with Christ because there's a separation of church and state. And
Yeah.
so, it could get a little slippery. And I must say, I'm retired now, so I can say this. I was slippery all the time because
Listen.
for me, it was ministry for me. It was not just a job, standing in front, teaching kids how to write and read. It was ministry for me. So I ask you this question. Do you run up against those same obstacles, or do you have a little bit more freedom?
No, you don't. You have
You
less
don't. You have,
because
oh, wow.
in unless a person mentions the Lord, God, in any capacity, says amen,
Mm-hmm.
any kind of capacity, you can't say anything. But the
Wow.
minute that they do, so I used to have an office in the basement, and
Mhm.
um I had all kinds. I had praying hands, I had Jesus is the answer, all kinds of different things, a Bible on the table. And so people would ask questions. What is that? Which
You dangled that little
and
carrot,
then
right?
I'm going in. And what I've learned through the years is that people have grabbed onto. Like right now, I have a family with 12 children.
Mm.
Those seven of those children said, Miss Loren, can you take us to church? I brought two of them
Mhm.
already. I send mom all information, because we do have a goat at Change Church. I'm just going to say it. We do. And she just loves the whole goated seminar, series.
Love that.
And she's constantly, oh my God, I better pray about that, huh, Miss Lauren? I better do so and so. God's got my back. It's a whole nother.
He's
The
the
first
goat.
time when it happened, I mean, I've had other times. At juvenile detention, there was a little boy who said, Miss Lauren, this is my first time ever praying for anyone. Miss
Mhm.
Lauren, if you don't pray for me, when you come back on Monday, I'll be dead because
Oh,
I'm going to hang myself.
oh
I'm
my.
like, Lord.
And this is on a Friday going into the
On a
weekend?
Friday at 4:30 when I'm getting ready to walk out the door, when I've never learned ever to pray out loud in ever. So that was my first time. I said, okay, God, I don't know what to say, but I know you say something and then I'll say it and then he'll be all right.
Wow.
When I came back on Monday, he said, see, your prayers changed. Your prayers changed me. So that was my beginning of
Wow.
praying.
Oh my
But
goodness.
that was a long, long time ago. And here I am now praying on the prayer table,
Right.
which is kind of crazy.
And coming from, hearing you talk about, and mind you, we didn't even finish the story yet. Hearing
No.
you talk about your parenting and what you thought was parenting, dealing with a exceptionally bright, rebellious um, young man that you
Hmm.
were raising. What challenges did you face, and how did those challenges push you into being an advocate for children and parents and families now?
Because I didn't want, and I still don't want anybody to feel alone when they don't know what to do with their child. It
Mm.
is disheartening. It is makes you feel like you're a failure. Timmy, when he was 5 years old, would be upstairs reading his Bible. And I would have to say, go outside. Who knew that?
Right.
But, it tells you make that foundation, and we'll talk about that foundation as we go.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, I couldn't understand. Like, I'm used to learning. So if the teacher puts this down,
Mhm.
I read it, figure it out, and I get an A.
Okay.
There's no such thing as getting straight A's as a parent. You don't get straight A's.
Maybe D's and F's for a little while.
And not even on the
An
radar.
occasional B.
It's extremely difficult because you
Is.
think, okay, for me, I read the book. The book said, do these things. The book says, if you talk to them kind, and if you give them things, and if you have these explanations, things will go great. So I would come home from New Brunswick and we would be having something we used to call powwows.
Mm-hmm.
So I would talk to Talisha and say, okay, so how was your day? She
Right.
said, fine. Timmy's day? He said, fine. But then when we started getting into particulars, because I wanted them to be feeling comfortable enough to talk to me and tell me things.
Right.
I wasn't prepared for um, first sexual encounters and explicitity that was shared. I wasn't ready for that. But my kids they knew me.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, Timmy got something to tell you. Here's the cup of tea. Mom, Talisha want to tell you something. Here's the cup of tea. Yes, yes. So Sherry, I'm about to tell you something because you got your cup of tea.
Look, I got my cup of tea. If to take a
And we
sip.
ain't spilling the tea, we drinking it down. Us understanding that children feel comfortable telling you things when you make them have that comfortability. So when I kicked him out, that conversation that we used to have went away. So now who's talking to him? Who's pouring into my son? Who's saying these things? And I didn't have any understanding about that. And so I was practicing Islam for a while. And then when I was on my prayer mat, I couldn't feel the Holy Spirit. And I was like, I need the Holy Spirit. So I went and joined this church. And people kept saying, just pray. And I was like, okay, I'm praying. People kept saying, just pray. I said, okay, I'm praying. People kept
Right.
saying, just
But
pray.
you're not, but you weren't seeing anything.
No, no. And so, going to the altar, leaving it on the altar, I thought I was leaving it on the altar. It was right on my back when I got up. But this one particular Sunday, I was at the altar. This is like so amazing. Oh my God. Now, I am not practicing therapy yet. I'm still in school. So I'm
Okay.
learning about um, people who hear voices, schizophrenia, personality. So
Wow.
I'm learning
Yes.
about all those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm praying, God, please help Timmy. I keep getting him out of trouble and he keeps getting back in. Please, God, help him. Clear as you hear me talking, I heard, that's my son. I'll take care of him. Well, I thought
Right.
that
Mm.
that was somebody behind me whispering in my ear because I heard it. That's
Mm-hmm.
my son. I'll take care of him. And I looked around and I looked at him. There
And
wasn't nobody
and
there.
for somebody who's learning about voices, now you think you're crazy, right?
Swear. I said, oh my God, the boy done drove me crazy now.
Mm-hmm.
He said, no,
No.
I will take care of.
Right.
Now,
Wow.
mind you, his name is Timothy,
Mm-hmm.
man in the Bible. But did I know about that? No, no, no. Didn't think
God
that.
did.
Didn't
God
think,
did.
right?
Absolutely. So let me ask this question because you you felt like that communication was broken.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know who was pouring into him.
Mm-mm.
What was the end result? Where did he end? How did it end up?
Whew. Okay, so after the prayer and me hearing the Lord, um, Timmy kept getting into trouble. He went to federal prison. He went to state prisons. I think I probably have visited the prisons in New Jersey and know their protocols because he
Mm,
was in and out just that much.
okay.
He was doing all kinds of things, arsenals, cars, all kinds of stuff. And I said, but God, you promised.
Right.
And he said, I did. And so, um, let me see, maybe 12 years ago,
Mhm.
uh, he had gotten out. Before that, he got out and he was going to church. He was the Bible toter because he was, I'm saved. I got this Bible and I'm listening to what God says and, I'm going to act better and do this. But he told me that that was all external because this is what people thought he should be doing. And he never understood the foundation
Mhm.
to make him understand for God I
Mm.
live, for God I die.
Right. It's hard work.
It's hard work. And
Yes.
he hadn't done hard work because hard work means you got to deal with your mom who was running around doing all kinds of stuff, cussing you out, throwing you out, giving these things and doing all this kind of stuff. And your father who one minute he loves what he's doing with you and the next minute that joker's somewhere else. You don't know where he's at, what he's doing. But God is able because
Yes.
before his dad passed away,
Mm.
he went to go and live with his dad when he was a teen, not a teenager, a grown man. So they were able to have, I think, some more closure.
Oh, that's beautiful
Yes,
and
before he
so
passed
important.
away.
So
Yes, and it's
important.
very
Wow.
important. So if you ask, Timmy has 4 children. If you asked him, his children, they got some stuff about him, but they do also say he's a good dad. But I say all that to say, um, this he came back home and he was doing okay, but then it got difficult because if you're used to uh, having like $100 in your pocket,
Yeah, it's a
and you
lifestyle,
got
a
yes,
certain
and
right,
you got to
financial
be like
lifestyle. Mhm.
counting your pennies. He's like, I'm not doing that. And he had children.
Mhm.
So he said, okay, let me just go and flip this real quick.
Mm,
And that flip real quick went right back to the mindset. And then that process, some
right.
people got hurt and things were happening.
Okay.
Um, but they always couldn't really catch him in the big deal things that he was involved with.
Mhm.
And so this particular time, they were trying to chase him and catch him. And instead of the policeman who had 20 years experience shooting him in the chest, he shot him in his foot. Now, when you're running from from your destiny, things have to stop you. So
Wow.
there was another time when he was doing some things and he got stabbed in his chest and 2 inches from his heart. God has spared him to go through
My God.
things
Yes.
and still come out
Wow.
alive. But this last time, the judge said, I see this long record. You have been doing things for years. 150 years is probably what you're looking at. And
Wow.
I said, but God, you said, and people were looking at me saying, oh, she's crazy. Lauren's in denial. She always want to have a happy smile and she want to be this, but she ain't living in reality. Timmy ain't going to be this. Timmy ain't going to be that. Timmy did this. Timmy did that. I said, but the God I serve
That's it.
promised me
Yes.
he would take care of my Timo.
Wow.
And that 150 started going down. So it went down to 100 years, right? And I was like, that ain't it. I was,
Right.
you,
Look,
how
we're
you
not
think?
done yet. We're not
Yeah,
done yet.
how you think they're gonna do something more? They didn't cook on 50 years, and you trying to act like they're gonna do more than that? Okay,
Mhm.
75 years. Oh wow, he probably that's good. I said, we
We're
ain't
not
there.
done yet.
No, we're not done. That 150 dropped all the way down to 18. In this 18 years, he's been there 12. He said, God, if you just let me come back home to my family, I will serve you
Mhm.
unconditionally, whatever, however. And it's amazing to me because people that don't know the background story only see him from the street life and he had a little
Right.
name when he was there. And so when they come from Trenton to where he is now, other people say, that's Brother Tim. Don't disrespect him.
Wow.
When I go to visit, oh, God bless you, ma'am. I'm just a regular person. Why are you going to be treating me all special? I'm just regular.
Yeah.
But
Well, but you have to understand in certain cultures, and when we talk about, the prison culture or
mhm,
incarceration or whatever you want to coin it, respect is huge. It's everything.
yes,
And
yes.
so, right, for you, it's like I'm this general ordinary person, but they're like, no, no,
No, you got
we
a special
respect
gift.
him. Therefore, we respect who raised him, who birthed him, who.
Mhm,
Um, as you were talking, it really made me think about transformation and what God taking care of something looks like versus what we think taking care of something looks like. Because you're literally your son is still incarcerated. Am I right?
Yes.
So, but he is brother. So therefore, he obviously has a relationship with Christ. They see him in that way. And but what you expected God to do is totally different from what he did. So again, I go back to counselor parent. How do you encourage a parent who's dealing with a wayward child who now finds themselves in a situation where they're either on their way and you see their behavior and you're like this kid is on a trajectory to go to the youth house or to end
Hmm.
up in adult prison if they do certain things at certain crimes and get waived up, or they're currently in prison and looking at these long sentences. How do you encourage or counsel or support a parent who is that's their reality? That's their reality. How do you handle that?
So first and foremost, I help them take the onus off of making what they would consider the perfect child, because
Mm,
there is no such thing as a perfect child. And so
right.
you want them to be like this, but first and foremost, you acting like this.
Mm,
So if you change how you're talking, and what I always tell parents is we live in a microwave life in our mind. We want, well,
well, quick.
people always say, come in and fix my kid. And I always tell them, but if I fix your kid, they're coming back to you. So how's that going to work?
Reality.
It's important to understand,
Right.
because even though the conversation between Timmy and I um, was it, it would be there for a minute. I'm sorry. Okay, mom.
Mhm.
And come back. But then he'd go back to living that life. And I'd be like, okay, get out. It really became difficult. So much
Mhm.
so that I just didn't even want to know. I didn't want people to know because I felt embarrassed, ashamed. Here I have, I look like this, but then I have a son who acts like this. And then having a daughter who can't really get connected to anybody because they know who her brother is and he ain't playing that. So
Mm.
it was extremely difficult. Even for myself, when I got married to Jose,
Mhm.
his comment was, so what you gonna do with my mom? How
Oh,
you gonna treat my mom? He's behind the wall,
right.
but he he was my dad, Talisha's dad, because he would always like, don't be, you what you looking at? Man,
That,
what you looking at?
mhm.
You
Yeah,
know,
that
you
protector, that
a
that
grown man in the
defender.
grocery store.
Uh-huh.
You
Uh-huh.
gonna say to some
Yeah.
man, I don't even know who it is. But he's always been a protector.
Right.
And so I belong to an organization called Faith in New Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
which works with reentry programs. And so
Okay.
this
And
gentleman,
reentry is coming from an incarcerated situation.
yes,
That's okay. Just for
yes,
people who may not understand. So,
okay,
okay.
yes.
Yep.
So New Jersey has a really big reentry program, even though sometimes I have challenges with it, but that's another story for another time.
Absolutely.
But this guy was talking. He said he was at a certain prison. And I was like, oh, really? I said, do you happen to know my son? And I told him his name. He said, Brother Tim, you're his mom? Yo, this Brother Tim's mom. We're in a whole big
Whole
place.
prison.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And the people, it it brought such joy because they were telling me stories how he has talked to them. And he talks really low. He's very mild mannered, chill dude.
Mhm.
He don't raise his voice. He don't get mad. He's just like that, right? And they were just telling me all these different stories about my son did this, my son says this. No disrespect.
Wow.
People just treat him differently. I can remember him telling me that somebody from the town came up there and he had coffee and some cookies in his room. And this guy took it, right? He knew he took it. So he said, bro, come on in. Now, the reputation that he had, this guy was scared. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen to me now? He knows I did it. I'm scared. And he sat down. He said, um, I have some more stuff here. Would you like to have that too? And the guy didn't know how to interact now because this is truly
Mhm.
a flip from, I'll blow you off, and to a person who was here loving, caring, kind.
Mm.
And I remember a Samoan guy who said, Sister Loren, Brother Tim keeps me up all night long talking about the Lord, Jesus, this, that, boom, boom, boom. And so he always calls periodically. We call, how's Brother Tim? And Timmy's, will write him and different things. But that was his foundation. He
Wow.
started asking questions about who God is.
Yeah.
Why is God? What is he going to do for me? And how can I? Now he's on the mission. He'll say, Mom told me several years ago, because he knows I know different people. And I wanted to say, okay, well, you've been gone too long. Let's see if we can call. He said, I'm on assignment from God, and you have no right to try and interfere while I'm on
Wow.
assignment.
My good look.
Hey, it's a whole nother life.
So that had to have given you that peace that surpasses all understanding
Yes.
because he's physically still incarcerated,
Hmm.
but spiritually free beyond measure.
So, in when you're in the courtroom, they give you 2 minutes to say, do you have anything to say,
Hmm.
before we sentence you? Timmy got 30 minutes, and
He did a whole sermon.
he did a whole sermon. He did a whole sermon and told the people that you are imprisoned. I am not. I'm set free.
Wow.
And the judge said, when you get out, please come see me,
I love
because
that.
I know, based on who you are right now, things are going to happen. Here's the thing, though. People say that, well, he's acting like that because he's incarcerated. And I said, it could be. I said, but God, mm-mm, not this one.
Right.
We've already seen that. He's
Right.
already been that.
Mhm.
He's next level now.
But
He's
the
third
other
way now.
third way, right?
He's
But the
third
other
way.
part of it is he we know by the fruit. We know by the fruit if
Hmm.
somebody is authentic, or
Hmm.
and so you're looking at and you're coming in contact with and you're listening to the fruit of his words, of his life, of his transformation and his change. There are lives that have been impacted. So it's real.
Yes, it is
It's
true.
real.
It's truly real. And I'm
So
grateful.
I am as we prepare, because I'm looking at this time, I'm like, oh my goodness, we
Oh,
are coming up with I know. When
time
I tell you
flies.
I am loving this conversation though, um, as we prepare to kind of wrap things up and finish up,
Hmm.
what would you, if you had to give like a nugget or two to people who are watching, what would you say? What would you, if they don't take anything else away from this conversation that we've had today, what would you want them to walk away with?
We have to do self work in
Mhm.
order for God to do his work.
That's
So
good.
God can do and will do and does do anything. But why would he keep throwing pearls into swine? He doesn't do that. So if we're going to have an expectation that our children are going to do better and be
Mhm.
better, then we have to turn. And I had to turn around and put the mirror in front of my face and say, Lauren, what is it that you're saying? What is it that you are doing? And I had to do that, and still I'm doing it, because Timmy will say, so mom, what would God say if you act like so and so and so
Ooh,
towards this one? Oh, he has made me, become a different person. Because
ooh.
not that I would say bad words, but I could be not nice to
Mhm.
people who I felt weren't nice. And especially if you're doing something to my grandbabies, oh, you hit.
Okay. Vengeance is mine, saith the
Yes, and I
Lord.
had to. That's what Timmy said. So
Oh,
when did you become God and can
okay.
take out what you feel when you feel like it? You
Mm.
have to love, unconditionally love. And I know you had to learn that late, Mom, but
But you had to
I would
learn it.
tell people
Hmm.
that God is able,
Wow.
and you have to forgive yourself
Mhm.
before God can do things. You have to be able to acknowledge who you are and who you were and where you want to go. Like, do you want to keep, cussing your kid out, calling them little names and treating them like they're, nothing? Or do you want to, despite the fact that they are acting like all these little things you're calling them, speak
Mhm.
in life,
Wow.
taking the time to speak? Timmy used to say before he would go out, did y'all anoint my coat? Did y'all anoint my shoes? And me and his wife, we we was always, Lord, please help him, Jesus. Da, da, da.
Right, right.
But the reality is, when you have a relationship with God, He will help you get through the process. I never, ever, first of all, I never thought I was going to have to be struggling like this. And at one point, I said, you know what, God, maybe this is my fault
Mhm.
because of how I was doing things back then. And He's like, this ain't got nothing to do with you. This is what I want from my son to do.
Exactly. He
And
knows. He knows what
yes,
the path that, first of all, he knows every decision we're going to make in our entire life. And so
yes,
he's already maneuvering and manipulating and changing things because he's like, oh, Lauren's about to do this. Let me give her a way of escape because I need her over here. She about to go
yes,
to the left. Sherry's about to do, so he uses all things and works it together for our good.
yes.
He knows with every decision we make where it could land us, but His grace and His mercy follow us, direct us, and keep us on the path because He placed a purpose in us that He needs fulfilled in the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I heard you say so many things, in this conversation, but you talked about acknowledgement. You talked about reflection, being able to really, really hold that mirror up and look at yourself and
Yes.
say, okay, I need to face my past traumas. I need to deal with my poor decisions,
Mm,
and the impact that they've had on me and on others around me. And then put that in that perspective and make some adjustments so that you can be in a healthier place. And so, Loren, I thank you for not just talking that talk, but sharing your walk because people can realize and recognize, this therapist didn't have it all together. And now you can minister in so many ways because of your life experiences. And so I thank you for your transparency. I thank you for your openness and honesty. There is a shame and a guilt that is all usually associated with incarcerated children. Like you said, I feel like I'm a failure as a parent.
yeah.
Well, I'm looking at you and I'm saying, what it may have looked like is not what it is.
Oh, what the enemy meant for evil,
Come on.
flip that.
That's it. That's it. And so, to the parents who will watch this, I don't care if it's just one who is encouraged by your story. We did our job. We
Yes.
we we completed the assignment. I'm sure there are so many more than that, but if it's just the one, we thank and believe God. And I just encourage everyone today to understand that none of us is perfect.
No.
Every single one of us has experienced trauma on some level. And that trauma impacts us in so many different ways. But those steps toward healing and being healthy are, like you said, Loren, in the acknowledgement of that, facing the effects that that trauma has had on us,
Mhm.
on our decisions, on our identity and who we are or think we are, and then the impact our behaviors have on other people. Once we acknowledge that, then we can put in the work.
And one of the things that I wanted to say, I'm sorry,
No, no.
um, is that daily I would say, Satan, you will never have my son. You will never have my husband. You will
Mm,
never, ever destroy my family.
I know that's right.
And when we have the conviction, because he already knows, that's why he comes at him constantly, because he already knows where it's going to make us feel upset, and then we're going to get weak, and then we fall. But on a regular basis, nothing could be going on. And I would just I just need you to be reminded, you ain't going to never have mine.
That's it.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
Because when you know that you know that you know that God is in control, the sky could fall down. Timmy tells me I'm too optimistic, but I told him one time if he turned me into a lion for real, because I love lions,
Okay.
I don't I don't believe that it couldn't happen. Because for me, God can do anything,
Everything,
anything
anything and
at all.
everything. Uh-huh.
Yes. And if you have that mindset, you don't have any you can say, okay, this might be bad, but the light comes on. Oh, but God.
Hmm.
And so some people say, but God, and take it for granted. When I say, but God, I totally believe
Your
he's
heart.
coming through
Right.
with the thunder. And I just sit
That's
back
right.
and wait.
Mm, yeah.
So I
I
sit back.
love that. I love that. So if anybody watches this and they're like, oh, I want to get in contact with her, or um, I just want to pick her brain, or I may need help with my children or my family. How can people reach you? How can they contact you? How can they
So I
can
have a
they find
website.
you?
I have a
Okay.
website. It
Mhm.
is www
Uh-huh.
dot we help people
Okay.
llc.com.
Excellent. Well, I know once this video comes out, we will make sure that makes it onto the screen so that people can find you, and definitely get the support and the resources, the encouragement and the help that both they and their children need. So, Loren, thank you so much for being
Oh, this is
here.
fun.
I
Thank you.
am just so overjoyed. I know that it helped me, um, in my current situation. You don't have to have a physically imprisoned child to,
To be in
or
prison.
yourself to, like Timmy said, oh, y'all are in prison. We are. And so this was freeing for me. So thank you so much for being
Oh, you're
here.
welcome.
Again, to my audience, our audience today, if this blessed you in any way, the first thing I ask you to do is share it. Just share it. You can subscribe, but the main thing is share it with somebody who you know could benefit from it or could use the help as well. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. We are glad that you are with us. And Loren, pray blessings over you, over your business. And again, thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Surviving with She Rich. If this content helped you, hit like, subscribe, and share. And remember to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dr. She Rich 4.